let's carry on. And this area here was previously locked, I believe. However, after being reinstated as a Spectre, we now have access to it. As you can see here by the text on the wall, it is the Spectre Outpost. Totally super secretive. There's no way anyone knows that this exists. Okay, and we can check out our Spectre terminal here, where we get some messages. Welcome to the Spectre Information Processing Center. This terminal offers secure information access and support for authorization of covert operations or requisitions. It is restricted to operatives currently on active duty with special tactics and reconnaissance. That being Spectre. That's the abbreviation for it. And now that we are, once again, reinstated as a Spectre, we once again have access to resources such as this. Any operation requiring payment can be executed at the terminal nearby, which supports secure and untraceable financial transactions. Okay, sounds like there will be a place for us to buy stuffs here as well. Then we have the Quarian Fleet Intel. Let's see. Quarian Pilgrim Jen Volan Narnima on the Citadel received a large credit transfer from the fleet. Jen Volan purchased tech, including high-end weapon mounts and kinetic barrier emitters, from several ship service centers. On Ilium, another Quarian pilgrim, unidentified, was observed searching for a ship traveling close to the Perseus Vale, which is an area close to the Quarian homeworld, although the Quarians have largely been driven out of that area by the Geth. That is a long story that I will not explain here, because otherwise we'd be here for a long time, but I'm sure we will talk about it later. The pilgrim was later heard saying that his pilgrimage was recalled. Data suggests the Quarian fleet is withdrawing its pilgrims and upgrading ships for combat somewhere near the Perseus Vale. This could be a reaction to the Reaper invasion, but no formal offer or request for assistance has come. Intel suggests the Quarians may instead be preparing for conflict with the Geth. So, to put it simply, and I mean really simplifying here, the Quarians and the Geth, they have a bit of a history with each other, and that history has been rife with conflict, and perhaps, by the indications here on this message, they may be a little bit distracted by that, and not giving their full attention to the Reapers. Okay, so that's our information, but we also have Specter Requisitions over here, which is a place where we can buy a whole lot of weapons, and really, really powerful weapons at that. So, we also have the N7 Defender, which is an armor, giving a combination of ammo capacity, damage, shields, and health. Now, we actually do start with a specific armor that gives us purely health bonuses. I think it's 50% total, and as we're seeing here, this adds up to 50% with all these various bonuses, so I think for the most part, when it comes to the armors in Mass Effect 3, it is largely a matter of just allocating the 50% of total bonuses to whatever stats are most important for you. And so, do we like having 50% additional health? Yeah, it's probably not a bad thing, but would we prefer to have weapon damage, ammo capacity, shields, or any of a number of other things? Possibly. Those are the things you'll have to consider. But then we have things like the N7 Eagle, which is a really good pistol that is a little bit on the cheaper side. Then the N7 Hurricane is probably going to be our SMG of choice, if/when we get enough credits to purchase this, but as you can see here, all this stuff is grayed out because it is all too expensive for us right now. Crusader, also a strong shotgun in this case. And then the Typhoon is an absolutely amazing assault rifle, so that is definitely going to be something we're going to want to pick up. And then, other than that, these other weapons we might opt to pick up, but are probably not quite as high priority. Black Widow being a great sniper rifle, super high damage. So these are in some ways sort of like the chase items of sorts. As you can see, some of them, generally the bigger weapons, the assault rifles, the sniper rifles, the shotguns are going to be more expensive than things like the smaller SMGs and pistols. So we might need to ask ourselves, do we prioritize saving up for the really big stuff and trying to get those as quickly as possible? Or do we perhaps make it such that it'll take us a while longer before we have enough credits to get those, but at least along the way we can pick up some of the smaller stuff like the Hurricane or like the Eagle? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, either way, right now we can't do any of that stuff, but as I was saying, those are things that at least on a future occasion will definitely be relevant. Then we also have a shooting range over here, which is totally new to Mass Effect 3. So what is this, you ask? This is, well, it's a shooting range in which we have 3 targets here. Or actually, is it 3 or is it... Do we have a 4th? Let's see, we can reset the targets, yes, but basically the point here is that you can check what the weapon you're using is like. And there are enemies with shields, enemies with health, and enemies with armor. And so that way you can see, like, okay, if we're using, what, right now we're on the Shuriken, which is our SMG. So I think we'll find that it deals decent damage to shields. But, comparatively speaking, gonna do a lot less to armor. Like, a whole lot less to armor. And so this is a place where you can test those things out. And see, okay, how significant is that difference? Because you would see the answer is quite significant indeed. And health, decent in that case. And, you know, you can reset them if you need, and you can restock your ammo and grenades. Can we actually chuck grenades? Be kind of curious to see. Cluster grenade. We may have had bounce back into our face and not actually hit the target. I mean, it is kind of hard to have the specifically cluster grenades. They are probably the hardest to aim because they do so much bouncing. Like, kind of need to see if this hits stuff right in front of us. That was kind of what I was going for, but I mean, these are elevated, so there's just like 0 chance we could ever hit these with a cluster grenade. Instead, maybe if we threw it at the ceiling and had it really luckily bounce straight down. Yeah, I thought cluster grenade, come to think of it, some grenades explode immediately if they contact an enemy directly, but these may not technically count as such, because yeah, as you can see there, throw it straight at that thing and it bounces straight back in our face. So, alright, we'll leave it at that, I suppose. Not so relevant at the moment because we don't have very many weapons to test out, but you have a weapon bench here, which means you can swap some things around if you want to see, oh, hey, you know, we were using a heavy pistol and an SMG before, but what if we threw on a shotgun instead, or a sniper, or an assault rifle, and all that stuff. This is a place to safely test it all out without actually being at risk of getting attacked. So, good for if you pick up a new weapon, you're not sure what to think of it. Okay. But that, I believe, is just about everything we're looking to do here at the moment. Pretty sure that is all. So let's, in that case, get out of here. Excuse me, sir, you saw nothing? You are not allowed to go in there. Access denied. Okay, let's head back then, because I think at this point, we have that quest for Priority Paladin. So that is pretty high on our priority list in that case. Priority, as you can see here, just to note quickly. So in previous Mass Effects, generally, there were actually 2 sort of folders. One being missions, which was the main quest stuffs for us to do. And then another one, which was assignments, which was basically the more minor side quests. So of course, you had to finish the main quest stuff to finish the game. And then the side quest stuff was, for the most part, purely optional, but could give you experience, credits, items, other bonuses. But this time, we only have 1 such folder. However, priority is basically the signal of this is a main quest mission, whereas if it doesn't have priority in the name, then that probably means it's a side quest. Okay, so we heard these people chatting. So yeah, in Mass Effect 3 in particular, I mean, I suppose we heard this a fair bit in Mass Effect 2, not so much in Mass Effect 1, but there's a lot of just conversations between NPCs that you can overhear.
People of the Alliance have questions.
Oh, not Al-Jilani again. Okay, so we have a bit of history with her. We may or may not have punched her in the face once.
Commander Shepard, Khaleesa been seen in Al-Jilani. Isn't it true that you were on Earth when the Reapers attacked?
Perhaps.
How do you justify running away while millions of people on Earth die? Is that the best we can expect?
No, we will not punch you. Not this time. Tempting as it may be.
I came to get help for Earth. For everyone.
What about all the people suffering while you play politics with the Council? What about them? How can you stand here while our families die? What are you going to do?
Khaleesa, we're doing everything we can.
Before they cut the feeds, there were so many dead.
I'm gonna stop the Reapers or die trying. But I need your help. Keep asking the hard questions. Don't let the Council forget about Earth.
I will. Thank you, Commander. You may be a violent thug, but I'm glad you're on our side.
A bit of a low blow, but to be honest, it was fair. It was fair. So we got some Paragon points for taking the more diplomatic approach. Tempting, as I said, as it may have been, to try to punch her in the face once again. Not this time. Not this time. Alright, and then James is, well, just hanging out over here, so I suppose we can check in with him.
Hey, Commander. Liara told me the Council's not interested in helping us.
Something like that.
Why would they? Look at this place. There's no war here. People are whispering about it. They're talking about it, but they don't really believe it.
Yeah, it sounds like this might not be your type of place.
I take it this is your first time here? With the elite of the galaxy?
I've been to the Citadel, but never up here on the Presidium. It's not right. It looks pretty, calm and peaceful. But it's not right. It's all just an illusion.
It was peaceful. Once.
But was it? Really? I mean, when push comes to shove, they're just gonna turtle up. Hope it don't hit them too, right? They'd rather believe in this than face the truth.
Yeah, they may very well be living in denial right now, but it is hard to believe just how quickly the Reapers seem to have attacked and hit a whole bunch of people, whole bunch of places.
I can hardly believe it myself. Like everything back on Earth was some kind of nightmare.
Yeah. That's what I hate most. It's like this place wants you to forget that.
So, you still want to go back to Earth?
Hell yeah, but
Bud?
you were right. So was Anderson. We can't stop them alone. Besides, looks like you're gonna have your hands full convincing these pendejo politicians to help us. And I'm up for it. Whatever it takes.
Glad to hear it.
I'm gonna head down to some of the lower levels where they keep it real. You got some spare time? You should come and find me.
Maybe I'll do that.
Alright, so there's James, and we get a little bit of reputation. I don't remember if I've said this explicitly before, but... So at times we're seeing that we get specifically Paragon points, which is, of course, increasing that blue bar, whereas sometimes we're just getting generic reputation points. And what that means is that we aren't getting them specifically allocated toward Paragon or Renegade. It is just going to fill that meter in the proportion of Paragon and Renegade points that we already have. So, like, what we currently see is basically 99% Paragon points. So, if we happen to get a reputation bonus of, plus 10, then we're probably going to get 10 out of 10 going toward Paragon, or maybe 9 out of 10 going to Paragon and 1 out of 10 going to Renegade, because reputation will, again, just increase that bar in the relative proportions of how much Paragon or Renegade you have compared to the other type. So, okay. I think, for the most part, we are done here. So let's head down.
Welcome, Commander Shepard. Please select a destination.
And I think we might be ready to head back to the Normandy dock bay.
One moment, please. Now arriving at docking bay D24.
Okay. So, let's take a quick look out here and see if there's any changes, but for the most part, I don't think that's going to be the case. Thought I might have seen something we could interact with for a second there, but it might have just been Avino right here.
Holding zones until strike teams clear an area. Then we come in and set up medical bunkers and supply depots. And then the main fleet comes in to occupy.
I'm not wearing commando leather, honey. What does that mean?
We'll be perfectly safe. They don't put engineers on the front lines.
But you won't be able to talk to us.
Again, just these stories of sounds like a couple and he's an engineer who wants to help out, but his significant other is concerned that perhaps he's going into harm's way, but saying, no, I'm an engineer, you know, I'm not going to be in the front lines. Well, I mean, saw what happened to Earth. That may not mean he's safe, but hopefully all will go well for him. Let's head back to the Normandy. And pay very close attention to what's happening here. What's happened? Where are we? What's going on right now? We're Shepard. We're in this sort of dream-like place. It's faint music, like oily specks floating through the sky. Fog, thick fog in the distance. Remember that. Remember that. And it looks like the boy that we saw on Earth that ran through the ducts, the vents, and then we saw later on out in the open and hopped onto one of those shuttles, and then that shuttle got blasted down by a Reaper, and presumably nobody on that shuttle survived.
Liara, can I help you?
I've been forwarding the Turian Counselor information on the Prothean device. It can't be built without Council support, but he's not budging until their Primarch is safe.
I know.
Are you alright?
Yeah, you know, we may have just had some kind of nightmare sequence there, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute.
I didn't get what you'd call a good night's rest.
There's more to it than that, isn't there? What's really bothering you?
I mean, it's people back on Earth, the people that we left behind, people that we just knew we couldn't save.
When the Reapers hit, I could hear people screaming in the streets below me. We left a lot of them behind.
There's no way for you to save them all. But I know you're doing everything you can, and you'll get back there in time to help.
I hope you're right.
Don't blame yourself, Commander.
Commander Shepard? I'm Specialist... Oh. I beg your pardon. I thought you were alone.
I was just leaving.
Commander Shepard, I'm comm specialist Samantha Trainer with Alliance R&D. I was part of the team retrofitting the Normandy after you turned it over to the Alliance. There weren't many of us aboard when the Reapers hit.
Okay, so presumably that means at the end of Mass Effect 2, when we, well, once we were done blowing up some Mass Effect relays, then we turned in the Normandy and we started things off in Mass Effect 3, of course, when we were basically under house arrest. But, yeah.
Slow down, Specialist Trainer. You're doing fine.
Thank you. I worked in a lab. I never thought I'd be serving on a ship.
Why don't you tell me about the retrofits?
The ship's in line with Alliance regs now, and it has new, top-of-the-line, quantum entanglement communicators. In fact, Admiral Anderson had intended to use the Normandy as his mobile command center.
That's no longer an option.
Yes, I heard he chose to stay and fight. In any event, I'm honored to serve under you, Commander. For as long as you need me, that is. They only sent me here to oversee the retrofits.
Shepard, some of our systems require further testing, and Specialist Trainer has been extremely effective during installation. I would prefer that she remain.
Got it, Edie.
Oh, wait, since when does a virtual intelligence make requests?
Edie's an AI, fully self-aware.
Oh, I knew it. I knew Joker was lying.
Jeff requested that I pretend to be a simple VI to protect myself. I apologize for the deception.
Thanks, Edie, and I apologize for all those times I talked about how attractive your voice was. Anyway, shall I give you a tour?
Oh, well, that's
I
awkward.
think you'll be impressed by the new upgrades. In the CIC, you'll find the galaxy map where you can set the Normandy's destination. You can also check your messages at your private terminal. The War Room houses a strategic command center for mission-specific intel and war analysis.
So that room's completely new.
The shuttle bay contains an armory where you can modify your equipment between missions. Finally, Liara has set up a lot of hardware down in the old XO office on Deck 3. I think she's claimed that room. And there you are. Still the same ship as before, it just flies Alliance colors now. Speaking of which, I believe Admiral Hackett would like to speak to you at the VidCom.
Oh, okay. Also, that distinction between VI and AI. VI are basically pre-programmed machines, whereas AI are self-aware,
Commander,
and AI are technically illegal. So that's
Udina
why
updated me on your meeting with the
Edie was
council.
undercover.
Sounds like they're running scared.
Yeah, so the thing with the council is basically they all said that they didn't think they could spare the troops to assist on Earth because they were worried about their home planets.
We did present them with a lot of unknowns. They're feeling threatened and want immediate solutions, not theories.
Theories are all we've got right now. What's your plan?
I'm trying to get the Turian Primarch for a summit meeting with the Asari and Solarians. I'll bypass the Council and appeal directly to their leadership.
That's good, I like it. This is where we start laying the groundwork for our counterattack.
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot to back it up right now.
Then build alliances. Gather everything and everybody you can for the cause.
What about the Prothean device?
Find me people who can help build it, and if you can't, I'll take ships, soldiers, supplies, whatever you can get. We need to keep hitting the Reapers across every theater of war they open. Buy us time to figure out the device.
And when it's finished?
Assuming it ever is, we pool all our resources. Think of it as a giant armada for delivering the device when the Reapers are most vulnerable. The stronger you can make that armada, the better the chances of punching through.
Okay, so basically there are two key things we are looking to do here, is what Hackett is saying with our strategy against the Reapers. Firstly, just basically build an army of... Hackett, of course, is running things with the Human System Alliance, but all the other species in the galaxy, trying to get a helping hand from them to the extent we can would be huge. Then, so that's directly war-related stuff. And then, on a slightly different note, getting scientists to help construct and understand this technology, this Prothean technology that we uncovered on Mars that we're trying to build and hopefully plan to use as some kind of super weapon against the Reapers. But then what about specifically Earth? Because Earth is not in good shape right now, and I mean, do we have any time at all before Earth might just completely fall to the Reapers?
What about Earth, sir?
We'll just have to hope Anderson and what's left of the Alliance forces can hold out until we've dealt with the enemy.
I understand.
Good. Then make it happen, Commander. I'll be expecting regular updates on your progress. Hack it out.
All right. So, with that, this is our comm room here. It looks a little bit different from what we had before. This is the war room. And this room is completely new, did not exist in any form in previous Mass Effect games. And so, let's just check it out a little bit here, see who's hanging out here. Don't really think there's anyone of note at the moment. But if we go down to this area, we can check out the war terminal. And if we use that, we see war assets, which is the thing that we saw pop up briefly while we were on the Citadel that I said, just note that that means that we are making some sort of improvements, but now we'll dive more into the details. The people, weapons, armies, and fleets that you've accumulated are your war assets. The overall readiness of the galaxy determines how effectively these assets will perform in the final battle. So, basically, this is all the stuff we have that is contributing toward our effort in our war against the Reapers. And as I was saying, we're basically starting with the Alliance, which is the human military, and that is pretty much it. And as you can see on that bar there on the left side, we are nowhere near the minimum military strength we are looking for. We need a whole lot more. Of course, we are just starting out, so that shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. But if we highlight the Alliance here, we can see more specifically what this stuff breaks down into. And so, basically, some of these things you will get automatically at this stage in the game, but in many cases, the decisions that we've made in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 even, and certainly the things that we will choose to do in the remainder of Mass Effect 3, will affect what war assets we might acquire and assist us in our efforts against the Reapers. That includes things like Alliance engineers, Alliance military divisions, Admiral Mikhailovich, who we actually met in Mass Effect 1 briefly. He was the guy who I believe was the one who wanted to inspect the Normandy and make sure that it was up to snuff. We weren't trashing it after we got it, and then several fleets. We saw the war assets number pop up, I think for the first time, when we invited Diana Allers onto the ship, and so we got 5 points from her. I mean, as you can see, things vary widely with regard to how effective they are. Some cases over 100, in other cases, minor things maybe as little as 5, or perhaps even less. I think there are some things that are even less than that. So, of course, in this case, 5 is significantly less than all these other things, but there are enough different things that we can acquire to help us in our efforts against the Reapers that it can certainly add up, even the small things. So, for example, the Alliance News Network reporter Diana Allers has been broadcasting from the Normandy, interviewing crew members and high-ranking Alliance officers to give the galaxy an insider's view of the war. So, just getting people more aware of what is happening, basically. Power of the press. And here's the Normandy itself. And you can see, in some cases, updates here. So, the starting Normandy might have had a lower number, like it might usually start at 100, but you see the update. To bolster the Normandy's firepower, Commander Shepard installed a Thenix magnetic hydrodynamic cannon on the ship's undercarriage. Based on Reaper technology, the powerful weapon fires molten metal accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light. That is a Normandy upgrade that we made during our Mass Effect 2 playthrough, and by doing that, I mean, there was a direct need in Mass Effect 2, but also has some carryover value into Mass Effect 3. It basically increases the war asset points that we get from the Normandy directly, and then you'll see the other upgrades that we made, like including the upgrades to the ship's armor, and here we're seeing the barriers as well. Looks like probably each of those gave an additional 5 points to the Normandy, and so that's a good example of, okay, so it probably starts at 100, and then those 3 upgrades collectively gave us an additional 15, so, you know, an individual one might not be a huge deal, but once you start talking about 3 of them, then that does start to add up a bit. And then the other thing is mineral resources. At the end of our Mass Effect 2 playthrough, we were talking about how technically your resources, to the extent that they existed in Mass Effect 2, where you actually purchased upgrades using those resources, they don't carry over into Mass Effect 3 in that sense. But they do have some value in Mass Effect 3, that being that depending on how many resources you have at the end of Mass Effect 2, that will dictate how many war assets you get out of them. So for us, it's 25. The number can vary a lot. I think it can be, if you have quite literally 0, you might get quite literally 0 out of this. I think it can be as low as 5. Obviously, we have 25 here. I think that's the middle value. I think it might go up to 100. This one is a little bit tricky because it is actually, or at least was, a little bit bugged in the original Mass Effect 3, where if you had too many resources, you could have, I don't know, is it technically, you could basically exceed the amount that the game was checking for, and I don't know, is that like an overflow? So I don't know, but basically you could have a high enough resources number that the game would get confused and think that you actually had a very low number and then actually penalize you for getting so many resources. So I wasn't 100% sure what the cutoff was in terms of the various sets of, or the various increments of war assets you could get for your finishing minerals at the end of Mass Effect 2, and that's why I was, at the end of our Mass Effect 2 playthrough, just kind of scanning planets to get resources here and there when it felt like we had a decent source of them. But there's a chance we did not get the maximum amount out of this. And then another 5 we just got from, what? The reporter that we chose not to punch? Technically speaking, you may remember me saying this when way back in Mass Effect 1 we did in fact punch her. If through your encounters with her in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 you never punch her, then you actually get an additional 5 points for your war assets from her. So I knew it at the time, and I was saying to myself, like, technically speaking, it is best if we show some self-restraint and opt not to do so, but at the same time, I just had to. I had to do it at least once. So, yeah, 5 points, which we still got 5 because we chose to go with the Paragon Interrupt in our most recent encounter rather than continuing to shoo her away. So we at least salvaged a little bit out of that. But that is the end of our alliance points here. And as we were saying, that is a bar that is very far from full. So we got a whole lot more work to do to fill that thing up. Let's see. So then we've got the tech labs over here, which is kind of like Morden's area from Mass Effect 2. It looks somewhat similar to that. Previously, there was a research terminal here, although it doesn't look like that's the case. This time around, we have just a table instead, and we still have a little ladder leading down into the other level, which is a ladder that existed in Mass Effect 2 in Morden's room that we actually used when we were controlling Joker. So it's a thing.
Earth hadn't been touched yet. You can be damn sure we'd be guarding our own borders.
Excuse me. Not sure why we need to get scanned on our own ship, but sure.
Commander, the Alliance has found a new Cerberus lab on Sanctum. Admiral Hackett would like you to investigate.
Okay. And that is a mission right there, a side mission that we could consider trying out. So that might be worth doing. And this is the CIC, the, what is it, Command and Control Center or something like that? And it is very similar to what we saw in Mass Effect 2. It is, in many ways, sort of the central room, the hub area of the ship, where we'll have the galaxy map, where we can explore the galaxy and plot our destination for our next mission. We can talk to Specialist Trainer, who in some ways is kind of like Kelly Chambers from Mass Effect 2, sort of like our assistant here, to give us information about stuff we might want to know about, like, for example, in this case, new missions, or some cases, new emails. Let's see. So, Special Ops email from Hackett. Shepard, Alliance forces are stretched thin across the galaxy. We need your specific talents for a series of ops. These missions will open doors for the Alliance in places we can't touch through conventional means. We'll deploy operatives to hold point after you've completed your objectives. I need you to head to a Cerberus lab on the planet Sanctum. I'll brief you when you're inbound. Okay, so that is the mission that we were just getting told about by Trainer. Then, reinstatement from Hackett. This letter formally acknowledges your reinstatement into the Alliance Navy per Admiral David Anderson's recent verbal communication. Under Emergency War Powers Regulation 903.5, you are hereby authorized to assume command of the Normandy SR-2. You are directed to begin interdiction operations against any and all enemies posing a threat to Earth, its colonies, and its allies. Furthermore, you are granted diplomatic authority to establish treaties with non-human races as required to support your mission. And that's from Admiral Hackett. Then emergency flash traffic urgent from Alliance Fleet Operations. Flash X1A34. All Alliance military personnel. This is a galaxy-wide alert for all human territories. Fleet Admiral Hackett has declared threat condition Saber 1. Enemy presence confirmed in Sol System, that being where Earth is. Earth under Reaper attack. All Alliance military personnel are directed to evacuate Sol System at first available opportunity. Do not attempt Earth approach. Heavy enemy resistance reported. Repeat, do not attempt Earth approach. Further instructions to follow on coded channel Crimson Tacit. Earth-based Alliance personnel unable to evacuate are directed to commence any and all necessary countermeasures. All remaining Alliance personnel outside Sol Theater are redirected to muster at pre-appointed staging areas and commence offensive combat operations at first available opportunity. In absence of further instruction, independent actions is authorized. Okay, so the general emergency to basically all the Alliance soldiers. Then KEI-9, subject my dog. Commander Shepard, I was a contractor working on the Normandy's haptic interface when it was in dry dock. Your VI, Edie, VI, again, the distinction being VI are legal, they're pre-programmed computers that are not self-aware, and they're smart, yes, but they don't have the ability to think independently, whereas AI are self-aware, can act and calculate things, whatever the machine equivalent of thinking is, independently. And EDI is secretly an AI. It was developed originally by Cerberus, but now that we are back to being an Alliance ship, we're kind of trying to keep that on the down low that our ship is technically illegal. So EDI emailed me to let you know I left my dog mech on board. Dog mech? I'm all the way out in Terra Nova now, and would hate for you to go a million clicks out of your way to drop off my dog. Please just take care of her. She likes exploring, sniffing chemical trails, and 750-volt outlets. Oh. Reminder, it's a mechanical dog. Thank you, and sorry for the trouble. I promise she won't be too much of a headache. Andrea Brown. Okay. So we might have a dog on the ship somewhere? A mechanical dog on the ship? Sounds cool to me. Then, ANN alert, new article, Quarian Fleet, from Alliance News Network Information Partners. That is, I believe, the organization that Diana Allers is a part of, the reporter that we brought onto the ship. So, Citadel, where's the Quarian Fleet? The latest intelligence shows the Reapers are taking system after system at a feverish pace. Members of all races are fleeing their stations, colonies, and in some cases, their homeworlds. This kind of forced exodus might seem especially familiar to the nomadic Quarians who were pushed off their homeworld by the synthetic Geth centuries ago. But as the galaxy pushes back against the Reapers, the Quarians are conspicuously absent. Yeah, so we were hearing a little bit about this when we were visiting the Spectre station on the Citadel, where we were saying there was perhaps indication that the Quarians were looking to fight the Geth rather than the Reapers, or at least they were distracted by the Geth. Turian and Alliance spokespeople cannot provide the fleet's current location. It is usually secret. They say they have other concerns at the moment. Whatever the Quarians are up to, they want it kept secret from the Council. After a refueling stop at Ilium, the fleet left no stated destination. And there are also reports from a galaxy-wide call for all young adult Quarians to abandon their pilgrimages to rejoin the fleet. That is odd. Greedy and short-sighted powers will always try to gain the upper hand in times of galactic crisis. We can only hope that whatever the Quarians are planning does not interfere with the only thing that should matter, stopping the Reapers. Read Ruxius Riley's regular column of View the Empire exclusively on ANN. Okay. Then, welcome back gift from Edie. While we were in dry dock, Joker suggested that a small welcoming gift would be appropriate to have on hand should you be reinstated as commanding officer. As the ship does not have the capacity to accommodate the dancers, he suggested, oh. Thanks, Joker. I chose something from the official Systems Alliance catalog. Soldiers who have held an N7 designation for 5 years or more are entitled to a commemorative hooded jacket for wear on off-duty outers. You will find it among the selection of casual clothing in your cabin. Edie gave us a hoodie. I mean, honestly, ooh, works for me. We have an upgrade waiting. From Glyph. Dear Commander Shepard, some of the data you found allowed me to research an upgrade for you. Simply access the terminal in Dr. Chisoni's office at your convenience, and you may choose how and when to implement it. Have a pleasant day, Glyph. Which you may remember as the little turret, or drone, really, drone, I suppose, that was following behind us when we were doing the Lair of the Shadow Broker at the very end of that in Mass Effect 2. Then Priority Mission Eden Prime from Alliance Command. Commander, Cerberus has attacked Eden Prime and is now occupying the colony. Alliance forces are stretched too thin right now to attempt to liberate the colony, but we've been doing what we can to covertly aid the local resistance. In the process, we've learned that Cerberus has uncovered a major Prothean artifact. We don't know what it is, but it appears to be the reason for the attack on the colony. We need you to infiltrate the colony and recover the artifact. Okay. That's the last of our messages. And if we look at our journal now, we will see we now have a few things here. N7 Cerberus Lab is what Specialist Trainer was talking to us about. The Alliance has discovered a new Cerberus laboratory located on Sanctum. Investigate the lab and deal with any potential threat. Hackett also sent us an email on this. Then we just got that email about Priority Eden Prime. It does say Priority. Technically, it's not a main quest mission. This was actually originally a DLC, and the original Mass Effect 3 was the From the Ashes DLC, whereas in Mass Effect Legendary Edition, it is just rolled up into the base game. So this is one of the few missions we can do at this stage in the game. We don't have very many options. For the most part, we're just looking at the main quest, Priority Paladin, this Cerberus Lab, and then Eden Prime. So those are our key options here. Shrike Abyssal, I actually either don't think we can get to the place we need to get to, or we can't get to the place where we need to turn this in at the moment. So although it is showing up right now, it is actually not something we can do.